Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning. You remember that program that that movie that used to start, Good Morning, Vietnam. Well, today I feel like saying Good Morning, Houston, because it feels like morning as I'm still sleepy. So as you're driving in your car, as you are trying to get your coffee and open your eyes, know that, I think all of us right now are in that state that says, I am kind of sleepy. But anyhow, welcome to Politics Done Right. Yo soy Egberto Willis, el locutor. Anyway, how are you doing? Howard and Mr. Van Beber there in the studio. How's everybody doing today?
Well, we're doing okay this morning, Egberto. We were having a debate, and I think you heard some of it over the phone before we went on air.
Well, that debate is actually an important debate. And since you started it that way, why don't I hear your thoughts? Because you know what? We need to hear everybody's thoughts on this. Give me your thoughts on the voting situation as you see it.
The voting situation as I see it is the citizens' responsibility and duty to get themselves registered, get a picture ID, and go to the polls and vote. No one is stopping them from doing that. You have to have a picture ID to get into a hotel. You have to have a picture ID to get into a government building. You have to have a picture ID. A state issued ID is fine. You don't even have to have a driver's license. And Jack was saying that, that they're discriminating against poor people, which is nonsense. As long as you have a voter ID, or as long as you have a state ID, and you've registered to vote, you've taken the responsibility to register yourself, get your picture ID, and go down to the polls. There are organizations that go around to people's houses and give them rides to the polls. Why is there voter apathy? Why are people saying, he says, well, it's just voter apathy. Well, that's on them. We can't go dragging people out of their houses and make them vote. We can't go into their houses and hold, weapons to their heads and say, okay, you're going to go vote. We can't do that. It's the citizens' responsibility to make sure their paperwork is in order, to have their picture ID, whether it be state issued ID or whether it be driver's license. That is your responsibility. You've heard people say, okay, well, so-and-so, League of Women Voters, for crying out loud. They hold voter registration seminars all the time. Why are you not there? Why are you not registered to vote? This makes no sense to me. And then you sit around and go, oh, well, so-and-so, the Republicans are on power and all this. Well, vote them out. For heaven's sakes, what is wrong with people? Are they too damn lazy to get out to the polls and vote? And then don't blame it on something else.
Okay, excellent commentary that I want to add an addendum to your commentary, because I think I agree with 75%. There's one piece that I want to add to that, and afterwards, let's go. Van, I think Brother Jack told me that he had some statements he wanted to make on that, and I want to hear him in context with what you said. So let me hear you, Brother Jack. Van Bebo.
Okay. I'll play the devil's advocate with Howard here a little bit.
I can hardly wait.
They're claiming, the vote is rigged. The GOP claims the vote is rigged, but they're the ones doing the rigging. Mainly, I see the gerrymandered districts. They're challenging people at the polls, to challenge their vote. I think they closed the polls too early on voting day, but you do have a period of early voting, that people should take advantage of. Well, the ID requirements, I agree with Howard on the ID requirements. They're bumping voters off the rolls. They're challenging them. How many? The Fed is already waging, a economic war on Biden by, raising the rate and causing more inflation and driving up the cost of things, which make him look bad when the election comes.
I'm not sure what that has to do with voting rights, but okay, we'll take that.
Well, I mean, I believe it's going on. I see it that way.
Okay.
The two-party system, you only have a couple of percentage points in between, 49 to 51% to take the vote, and that 2% can be manipulated pretty easy. And we saw how Trump tried to manipulate it. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to overtake the vote that we need to be aware of. I mean, that's
interesting. Let me just say this. Let me jump into the conversation here, because it's amazing how. By the way, like I tell everybody in the audience, you notice how people can just come in and change what the show is going to be about. That's what Brother Van Beber and our great Howard, who keeps this stuff running, just did. But I wanted to hear that discussion, because I have a similar thing that I'm going to play it from the attorney, the county attorney, in a little bit. But my 2 cents here is I can understand absolutely Howard's frustration, because I don't know why people won't take the responsibility, as Howard says, to go out there and vote. That is, look, I'm from Central America. I don't think I've missed but one vote in the several decades that I've been in this country, because I believe in the sanctity of the vote. So I see the frustration, and I sit down and watch people, take voting lightly. And it's like, I think it's crazy. But here is the one issue I have with what my brother had to say, Howard had to say, and that is with the getting a voter ID. And it doesn't happen mostly in places like Houston. It happens in places like rural America, which is where Republicans excel. And it has to do with birth certificates. And this I had to learn on the deep end. There are a lot of people in Timbuktu, Texas, Timbuktu, Alabama, who in their living in these rural towns never did things like getting the proper birth certificate, or people that have been born in homes and all kinds of stuff that to us in the city looks completely different than it looks in the rural areas. And what I find with the type of suppression that Republicans do, not the irresponsibility that Howard is talking about, of people just being too darn lazy, which is in fact what happens. People don't want to take the extra effort to do it, or etc. But these people have issues with having to pay to get a birth certificate when they try to get their birth certificates. The kinds of money, and it's not a fee. It's how do you prove that you were born in a home 50 years ago, et cetera, et cetera. Voting shouldn't be made hard. It should be made so easy, in my opinion, that Howard's frustration with people's laziness to go out and vote is immaterial. But these guys actually know who and where. Let me give one other example. Why can I vote with why can a student, whether they came from rural America or not, go to the University of Texas with a University of Texas ID, an ID issued by the state institution, and they can't vote with that ID, but if you have a gun permit, you can vote with your gun permit. Doesn't that automatically say, well, even with the two groups of people that are irresponsible, the person who has the gun certificate has an easier way of voting? Can you agree with that one, Howard?
I can't agree with that.
And
if you are a registered voter and you have your picture ID, you have an easier time of voting.
Right. Exactly. That is. And if you don't have a picture ID, you can't get registered. I mean, rather, if you don't have certain certificates, you can't even get registered. So
and I must agree with you on how do you prove your birth certificate if you were born in Timbuktu in a lean-to, and there was no doctor around. You had a natural birth, and you grew up, and nobody wrote down your birth certificate. How do you prove who you are? I mean,
Exactly.
that is tough. I will agree with that.
But I mean, so I think, what I think a lot of times, Howard and Jack, is that we create these issues, right? When in effect, they're all different issues that we can actually solve. And the politicians, if they really cared about solving it, could solve it. But now I want to go back on your side as far as your frustrations with people not voting. 5.3 million Democrats did not vote in this election. Republicans in the aggregate voted. I tell you what, they have the right then to do what they're doing, and we should sit back and say we won't let that happen again. Your thoughts?
Well, they do have the right to not vote if they want to. But the sad fact is there were people, and you and I have had this discussion many times here in the studio when you were doing your show. And it's like, look, people died for this right.
Yes.
People died. People marched in the streets to get the right to vote. Women marched in the streets. They didn't get the vote until the 20s. They marched in the streets to get the vote. This is important. And you ignore it. You say, oh, well, I didn't vote because, well, my vote doesn't count. And it does count. Even if it doesn't count in the election, it counts to the people who are laying in their graves who did not get to live their lives because they died for your right to vote. I mean, this is a thing with me, okay? It's a soapbox.
No, it's not a soapbox. Let me tell you, Howard, I think more folks need to be frustrated on this particular issue, on both sides of the issue, on what the politicians are doing to restrict the vote of certain people, as Jack has explained, and also what you're stating about the irresponsibility of many voters. And you said something that I heard right through as soon as you came back on and said, I don't want you complaining if you didn't go out there and vote, which is actually this. And I think that's an important.
You have no right to complain about what's going on if you did not participate one way or the other. I can complain because I vote in every election.
Right.
I don't think I've ever missed an election yet. My parents were voters. They impressed upon me, son, people died for your right to vote. I said, well, I'm 5 years old. What the heck is that? But it was their entire lifetime, and I could not wait to go register to vote.
Right.
Because I wanted to vote. I wanted to participate and say, no, I don't want this politician. No, I don't want this bill. No, or yes, I do want this. I want to vote this person in because I think they'll be good for us. It just makes me scream.
I think that raw emotion is necessary to jog some people into saying, I'm not going to let this happen again, because all the bad bills that are occurring in our Texas legislature right now, I hate to tell us all, it's our fault. Those who didn't vote that are now complaining. Jack, your thoughts before I actually start the program. It's amazing how you guys just came here and changed my darn subject, man.
Well, that's what happens, live radio.
Jack, talk to me. Jack, talk to me.
Man, I it is a responsibility to go out there and vote, regardless of who died. And I'm very proud of the people that fought for our rights, the women that stood up and said they wanted to vote, and now we have a whole segment of people that can't vote that are in the United States, and most of them from Latin countries, and they want to become citizens, most of them. And we discussed this a little bit yesterday about, what happened south of the border. I don't know what the future's going to bring, but if people don't get up and vote and go out and get the vote out, if they're outraged about what's going on, then yeah, you're kind of stuck in your own mess.
Jack, that is why we are doing what we're doing in these programs of public interest that we're doing here, because sometimes folks just need to be informed a bit more. And also, we can't empower people, but we can let people know that they are already empowered to do the things that they need to do. So anyway, hey guys, thank you for starting up that conversation on voting. I think it is superbly important that that people hear this. So, folks,
Well, we
if you're
started
not
your show with a box of dynamite this morning, that's for sure.
well, you know what? That's so important, man. That's so important because it's all our shows, actually. Not my show, it's our show. That's why, folks, we ask you to call 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute to the show, extension number 2 to be on air. It's so important that we all participate, not only in what we're doing here, but also in supporting a program intent on making a difference. Anyway, today's program, the title of the show is Harris County Attorney on Texas Legislature Attacks, Inconvenient Truth About the GOP. Harris County, Texas Attorney talks about the legislature attacks on voters. Former Representative Max Rose exposes the GOP's real problem. Evangelical editor who defected from the Trump wing speaks to Chuck Todd. I have little snippets that I want to play you. If we get to all, great. If we don't, because, you know, like you see what Jack and Howard just did, people and anyone can change the trajectory of this show. But before I get into the meat of the subject, we already have a call from Brother Tag. Tag, come on in.
Good morning, Edberto and all of Houston. How's everybody today?
We are doing great, and it's even greater because you're here, sir. Talk to me.
Well, I just was carrying on kind of something that I heard on Arnie, and it was just fascinating for me how it was a quote from Karl Rove. Remember him?
Yes, absolutely. That was Bush's brain.
And Karl Rove said something about, well, we're an empire-based community, and while the Democrats are studying our community, we're creating new realities. And it just really struck a chord to me. And I looked at that, and Ron Siskind had actually come up with that idea, but then Rove twisted it around to say, well, Republicans are going to be continuously redesigning themselves, or you know what I'm saying here. And so,
yes, reinventing themselves.
Reinventing themselves. And that brought me right to the point of thinking about Trump and MAGA and then George Santos. I mean, it's just phenomenal that these people have been able to do this. And also some of this reading I did this morning said they're making communities where there was no community before. And it just reminded me of Trump. There was really no MAGA before Trump. And all of a sudden he saw this need, and he came in and kind of mirrored what a lot of people that didn't have a voice, he was able to mirror that and then make a political movement out of it. And look where we're at now. And so then now everybody's studying Trump. You know, all the Democrats are studying Trump. It's like, no, Democrats need to do the same thing. So I thought,
you know, they're Tag. I mean, you've noticed something that is very important, and there is a group that came about who understood that and is actually doing something about that. It's called Indivisible. And that's just the name. The name of the group is called Indivisible, and we have different branches here. There's one in Houston called Indivisible Houston, run by a good friend of mine. But this is a national movement that has realized that there are ways that you have to do things to get people engaged, etc. Daniel Cohen is the president of the group here in Houston. So there are people that have realized that what you've just said. Learning how to reinvent yourself, learning how to reach people, not because you are right, but because of where they are. And that is something that Democrats and progressives alike have a problem in doing too often. That is, we are right, we know what's right, and we are, and if you don't see it, it's your problem. And that's not how, and Republicans work generally on a different mantra. They know what they want to do, and they would do whatever deception is necessary, in other words, to appease to you, but still get what they want done. It's disingenuous, but it works.
I think that's why Tucker was so good at what he did.
Yes.
He was continuing reinventing this political movement and drawing more and more people in. And I could see that a lot in what he was doing on his news show every night. So, and we could only hope that you would do that for us Democrats here, Egberto.
Well, no, let me tell you, Tag, let me tell you, I have a lot of respect for every American, okay, whether on the left or the right. And my theory is, and I think to some extent on a micro level, I think I've seen it work in my little Starbucks chats and my little online chats, etc., with different folks. And that is to go to where people are. In other words, whether I am right or not, I don't have to be right. In other words, it doesn't take, I don't have to sit down and wait for that right winger to say, oh, I agree with you or anything like that. I just have to make it about that other person. In other words, let that other person know that, they are important. Not only that, number two, I'm listening to them. We are listening to them. And also, please, please, please think about your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, etc., and vote your interest. And a lot of that happened. Remember, I want folks to understand that, a lot of people just want to throw their hands up in the air and say, oh, things are not working or progressives are not getting the job done. The folks who are, in fact, getting the job done in this country right now are progressives. Let's give an example here. When we had the 2020 election, Donald Trump got more votes in 2020 than Hillary Clinton, who won the popular vote in 2016, got. Donald Trump got several million votes more than Hillary Clinton. But Biden, he got way over 7 million votes over Donald Trump, who himself got more votes than Hillary Clinton. Where did those votes come from? Those votes were, I remember during the 2020 election, the amount of grassroots progressive runs that were going throughout the entire country, because this stuff is all connected and folks are sharing info with everybody and knowing what other people are doing. And I tell you, it works because a lot of folks were getting to a lot of folks who otherwise voted differently. So Tag, sometimes it seems like things aren't working, but we are all working. The fact that you're listening, the fact that folks are here helping out, it is working, sir. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Yeah, are you familiar with Ron Siskin?
Yes, I am.
He is?
Yes, the writer, yes.
Autistic child. Have you ever seen that story?
No, I haven't.
Okay, his autistic child, the only thing he would respond to is a Disney film, a cartoon thing, And so Ron Siskin started acting that out with his child. And pretty soon they were doing the whole 2-hour movie in a running dialogue thing. And then as his child grew up, he came out of his autism, and he's still not 100% normal, but he is a active member of the society now, and he's not really considered to be autistic so much anymore. And I think this speaks quite loudly to the fact that we can change the narrative. And
there you go.
Everybody thinks autism is such a big problem. Well, it is, but you have to go to the place where that autistic person is, or where that person that's bound up in politics. You have to go there and identify with them and help draw them out of that narrative. So I think
you just nailed it, sir. You just nailed it. You have to go where people are. You have to go where people are, and that is a commitment I've made in what I'm doing here with what I call activist journalism, and that is go where people are. If you want to make a difference, it's not about you; it's about them. And if we can, every time you start to get into the picture, if we can try to turn that around to them, then things start to work. Thank you, Tag, for calling in. Thank you, Tag, for being a supporter. All right.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Take care now. Anyway, folks, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. Hit extension number 1 to contribute. And by the way, the Politics Done Right is officially behind. So I want to ask all of you who have the wherewithal to call 713-526-5738, hit extension number 1 to contribute, or you can go to kpft.org, kpft.org, and give whatever contribution you can. $40 gives you a full membership in the Pacifica Network, which means you can support, you can vote at the KPFT election, vote in the Pacifica Network election. But more importantly, it means you own this huge network of stations, 5 flagship stations and hundreds of affiliates you will be able to be a part of. Alternatively, if you can provide $100, you get our t-shirts, the Politics Done Right t-shirt with the KPFT logo on it. And if you do $25 a month, you get a brick that has whatever insignia you want in that brick and form a permanent part of KPFT. That $25 a month deal with the brick gives you a 4x8 brick. And if you want an 8x8 brick, it is a $50 contribution a month. Now, if you want to go ahead and say, Egberto, I hear you on the radio every morning at 6. I want to see what the hell you're really like. Let's go get some coffee. I'll take you for some coffee. Anybody who gives $250 and above, I'll take you out for some coffee. We sit down and we can talk politics or whatever you want to talk about. So again, as you can see, I'm trying my best for us to earn our hour in the mornings here. That's every morning at 6 to 7. We have to raise $250 per day for this hour that we are here. So I ask you so kindly to call 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to give support, or go to kpft.org. Whichever way you choose, please remember to say this contribution is for Politics Done Right so that it will be appropriately attributed to this program. As I mentioned earlier, the title of the show today is Harris County Attorney on Texas Legislature Attacks Inconvenient Truths About the GOP. And what I want to do, I called up the Houston attorney, the Harris County attorney yesterday because he was on MSNBC detailing some of the problems. And I said, you know what? We better bring him on to our audience so that they can see what Austin is doing and the things that are occurring there. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the interview that I did with the county attorney, and then we'll move on from there. So check this out, and then we'll take this on the other side. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Today, we are honored to have Christian Menefee, who is the Harris County, Texas attorney. Christian, how you doing today?
I'm great. Very grateful to be on. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, look, right now, Texas is under duress. Before we go any further, why don't you tell me a little bit about what the attorney for any county does here in Texas?
My position is the chief civil lawyer for the largest local government in the state of Texas. It's a team of about 250 folks who work day in and day out to provide legal advice to all of the county elected officials, more than 60 of them department heads, and to represent the more than 18,000 county employees. But most importantly, as the lawyer for the county, whenever there is a fight to be had in the courtroom between Harris County and the state of Texas, we stand in as legal counsel for Harris County. And so that's the part of the role that I'm most excited about. And it's also the part that's most necessary given what's going on right now in the current state of politics in Texas.
As it turns out, I think big cities and specifically Harris County feel under attack from Austin because we have bills that are being written that are not written specifically for Texas, but instead geographically for large areas concentrated like Harris County. Why don't you explain to us what exactly is happening in Austin and what are they trying to do?
Well, this all started long ago when the former Speaker of the House was recorded saying that he wanted the next legislative session to be the worst in the history of the state of Texas for cities and counties. And then you had during COVID, when we ran an election out in Harris County, you had multiple statewide elected officials targeting Harris County in their public statements in the courtroom, trying to run back some of the voter access measures that were initiated here in Harris County. And now we've seen this legislative cycle, you've seen all kinds of bills aimed at overtaking local control out in Harris County. There's a bill that would prohibit Harris County government from passing any type of regulation that conflicts with state laws. So think worker safety protections. There's a bill that would allow Harris County's locally elected prosecutor to have a more expedited process to be removed from office if she were to prosecute crimes related, if she were to have a policy of not prosecuting crimes related to abortion. But there's also election laws that are specifically aimed at Harris County. One law in particular, if passed, would abolish the elections administrator office in Harris County. I think this is a very intentional and deliberate effort by elected officials out in Austin to try to strip power from folks who were elected here locally in Harris County because they live differently than them, because they think differently than them, and because we all know that to flip the state of Texas, that road is going to go through counties like Harris County, like Bexar County, like Dallas County. And so right now, Harris County is being targeted to really strengthen the Republican dominance in the state.
Now, my question is, they're attempting this, but is this legal? Now that certain sections of the Voter Rights Act have been decimated, are these things that they're doing legal, or is there still recourse that you as the attorney for the county and others who are being affected can actually try to mitigate in the federal courts?
Challenging these laws would for sure be an uphill battle because here in the state of Texas, our Constitution is pretty clear that counties are merely a local arm of the state. And so the state, through its legislature, is allowed to really regulate those entities as they see fit. And so there's a very limited number of instances where a county can actually challenge the state of Texas. And since I've been in office, we fought hard to utilize every single one of those. If some of these laws were to pass, particularly the laws that are limited to a county with a population, for example, of 2.7 million or greater, which only includes Harris County, we'll consider a few different avenues. One is filing a lawsuit in the state courts in the state of Texas because there is a constitutional ban in the Texas Constitution on local laws, right? The idea being that legislators shouldn't be using their position to enact personal vendettas against particular local governments, but instead should be doing what's in the best interest of the entire state. And so that's one avenue we'll look at. We'll also look at federal protections under the United States Constitution, as well as the Voting Rights Act. But those lawsuits can't be brought by the county. They have to be brought by individuals. And so that's where we consider partnering with your legal advocacy groups in the United States Department of Justice. We'll make sure to use every single tool in our toolbox to fight these in court if possible. But I really want to level set with everybody. The state of Texas has broad authority to limit the actions of its counties, of its cities, and they will utilize that at every single turn. And so that's why it's important that nationally people know what's going on in Texas, because the will of the voters in Harris County, the will of the voters in San Antonio, the will of the voters in Austin should be respected. And we shouldn't allow folks out in Austin to try to pass laws that supplant our local officials and that silence the voices of the people who elected them in the office.
Now, I understand that legally speaking, there's not much that probably is going to be able to be done. But my biggest concern with what's occurring in Austin right now is I don't see the passion here in Houston. I mean, it was great seeing you I saw you on MSNBC earlier today, urging on that something needs to be done. But I don't see from many of our elected officials that are there representing in Austin right now that fire in the belly to come to Houston and say, even though legally speaking, these guys may be able to do this, that we have to maybe get on the streets to let folks know that it's not just going to be, we're not going to sit back and take what they're going to give. What's your thought on that?
I think that our state representatives and state senators are trying to be thoughtful about the approach because we're still early in the process. There are several different bills that are out there. Some are just completely troublesome and are going to be incredibly harmful to people of Harris County, right? So, for example, there's a bill out there that would allow the Secretary of State, who was appointed directly by the governor, to overturn election results, right? There's a bill out there that would abolish the Elections Administration Office in Harris County. There's a bill out there that would end countywide polling across the state. But these are still just bills. They haven't made it to the final step in the process. And I think what you're seeing from some of our legislators is wisely, they're trying to ensure that we don't inflame the Republicans and end up passing some of these bad bills. I think there's still a chance that due to some of the great work of our elected officials out in Austin, there's still a chance that the final bill that comes out is going to be something that's incredibly watered down, that doesn't do too much harm to our democratic processes here in Harris County. But I think the concern is, frankly, folks don't want to inflame Republicans and have them go target the worst of the bills and pass them out. As we get further down the process, so maybe in a couple of weeks, in a few weeks, if some of those terrible bills look like they're going to pass, I am more than confident that you're going to see elected officials from the state level to the local level making sure that their voices are heard, that people in the streets doing what is necessary to prevent those bad bills from passing.
Well, I hope you're right in that regards, because that has been my biggest concern, in that there's not been enough attention paid. What would in closing, what would your advice be to the activists in Houston right now, just waiting for, basically waiting for direction before they go ahead, and many wanting to take things into their own hands?
I mean, look, I think there's an important role in our society for activism. And so I think activists, the best thing that they can always do is to be activists, is to make sure that people's voices are heard, is to make sure that the message is getting to every single elected official that needs to hear it, and to make sure that they're keeping the proper pressure on elected officials to get in there to fight and to do the right thing. I would also encourage folks to communicate with your Harris County delegation. They know the issues that are important to us, but it's important to remind them, because I know that each and every one of those folks is thinking very hard about what's the best way to approach these issues and how do we ensure that these laws do not pass. I've had conversation after conversation with the folks in the Harris County delegation, with the folks who serve on the elections committee, and I will tell you that these folks are committed to fighting these things tooth and nail so that they don't pass. It's always darkest before dawn, so we don't know which one of these bills is going to pass, but I will tell you, these folks are working behind the scenes to ensure that we're not going to end up with a bill that kills countywide voting in Harris County. We're not going to end up with a bill that allows the overturning of elections. We're not going to end up with a bill that takes the power of running elections from local governments and puts it in the hands of the Secretary of State's office. So I'm optimistic that folks are going to keep fighting, but it's important to make sure that you're communicating with our representatives so that they know our position.
Christian Menefee, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, folks, that was the Harris County, or rather the Harris County attorney at large. Anyhow, beforehand, I want to ask you to call 713-526-5738, extension 1, to provide support for the program, 713-526-5738, or go to kpft.org, kpft.org, to support the program. However you can. Remember, a $40 membership gives you voting rights at KPFT, Pacifica Network, and all that we represent. A $100 contribution gives you a Politics and Right T-shirt with the KPFT logo on it. And you want to have some coffee with me? I'll take you for some coffee. A $250 contribution. Remember, all these gifts all these forms of support you can pay over time. And I think Howard has another support person who was given a bus trip. Let's hear from Howard if he's here. Okay.
I was just talking to Jack here. Yes, Egberto, let's talk about this. Our own Mr. McKinney, the man who brings you the Houston Hour on Friday evenings at 6, has volunteered for a $75 donation, a pass for an hour-and-a-half VIP tour of the historic Herman Park Museum District, Texas Medical Center, on Houston's open air school bus. This is a really cool thing. They've taken a school bus and taken the top of it off so you can go and see what's going on. You take this hour-and-a-half tour, $75 is the donation for that. And you can get that at 713-526-5738. Just sign up for that and support KPFT and have a great time.
Absolutely. So, folks, that helps a whole lot. Again, 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute, extension number 2 to speak on air. We cannot do this without you. So I ask you, if you have the wherewithal, if you believe in having a program that's here for the folks, for the people, then please support us at 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org and select donate and contribute in the name of politics done right. It all goes into the KPFT pot. Johnny, come on in, my dear brother. Johnny, come on in.
Good morning, brother. Pardon me for yawning. It's early.
I don't want to put you to sleep, Johnny.
No. That's me. It's me, not you. It's
Talk to me.
Republican faction. Let's blame them. But why not me being tired?
Okay.
Here's my activism. We're always hearing about how Republicans are so bold and so anti-democratic and so brazen to think that they can pass a law to do this or to do that. And now they want to actually attack the ability of people to vote. And they want to cancel people's votes outright. So how about we, on our side, have the Democrats grow some you-know-what and say, hey, we're going to enact a law as soon as we're in power that is aimed specifically at James Comer and his retirement benefits and his pay, if he's still in office, to where his pay and or retirement benefits will be garnished until any and all monies are paid back to the U.S. Treasury for all the fruitless investigations he's done for the past 4 months. We want that money back, James Comer. How about that? And
You know what is interesting? I have we're short on time because we started the program out. You guys changed the program on me. No, anyhow, I have a James Comey clip, and I don't know if I'm gonna play it yet. I think it's like five. Well, actually, it's not too bad, but it's that how the person can how they can't find the person who is to testify against Biden and the Biden corrupt family. The person just disappeared, So
you mean like when George Bush was looking under furniture and stuff, pretending to be looking for
the AMDs, right? Yeah, for the WMDs. I mean, yeah, I remember that well. Anyway, Johnny, what else is up, buddy?
I wanted Americans on our side to wake up and say, enough of this. Republicans, you guys are the enemy. You guys pose a clear and present danger. Enough is enough. James Comer, we want that money back.
Thank you, my... Hey, Johnny.
Leadership. We want the Democratic Party leadership not to do something undemocratic as well. There will be debates in the what we call what's the first phase? A primary phase of the election. We want candidates to debate. You guys can't be so afraid that you think Biden is so impotent that he can't defend his ideas in a free marketplace of ideas. You guys are as bad as the Republicans, leaders in the Democratic Party. You guys could be held to account. How about that?
I tell you what, I'm coming to the conclusion that I really would like to see debates so ideas can come up, because people need to understand what they're getting, and if he has better ideas in these debates, he'll win. So look, thank you very much, my dear brother. Anything else before I run to, I think I'm going to play that clip because I want to get that clip out. So we'll talk later. All right, Johnny?
You know what it comes down to? It comes down to the leadership of the Democratic Party starting to play hardball, not with their own people, not with Cenk Uygur and Nina Turner and people who want to run as progressives. They need to start playing hardball with the other side the way it's supposed to be.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my brother. And Alistair Waters agrees with you in the chat. I don't think Eric Hayes agrees with you, but Alistair Waters does. Welcome aboard, Alistair Waters. Welcome aboard, Eric Hayes, as well. All right, I want to play you guys this, and then we'll take it on the other side, en el otro lado. Former Representative Max Rose nailed it. If you recall, Comer appeared on one of the Sunday News programs, and when they asked him for proof about why are they after the, quote, Biden crime family, he said, you know what? We lost our informant. We can't find our informant. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
You know, when you can't even track down your informant, when you're
he's in the spy business.
Yeah, when your best possible route is to somehow insinuate that your informant has been disappeared or something else, you know you really aren't on strong footing. But let's take a step back and look at the larger picture here. The Republican Party, during the course of the previous election, ran, for the most part, particularly when they were actually electorally successful, they were running on bread and butter, kitchen table issues.
Immigration, inflation.
Exactly. Then suddenly, they actually have an opportunity to, at least in the House, show real legislation. And they're incapable of it because they actually have no real solutions. They're just capable of fear mongering. So then they go back and they say, oh my God, we don't have any policy solutions. What the hell do we do? And they chase after ghosts. They go after family members. They try to actually build out political issues where there are none because they want to scare the hell out of people and distract them from the fact that they actually can't solve any of their real problems. And that was the source, the root, the foundation of that incredibly embarrassing interview.
Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani did not make Maria Bartiromo raise an eyebrow, but Jim Comer's investigation and the missing informant did.
Max Rose nailed it. The Republican Party is no longer a serious party. It hasn't been a serious party for a long time. However, what they're showing you today is that because they have nothing to offer, they rather destroy the country, destroy people's lives, destroy humanity, destroy all these things because they have nothing to offer, but want to remain in power. Folks, you guys can see this. You guys can see this. Remember, one should always vote your interests. And I'm pretty sure you know what that is. Absolutamente so, folks. Give us a call, 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. Extension number 1 to contribute. Extension number 2 to be on air. And yes, I'm taking folks on air. We need you to go to kpft.org. Por favor, go to kpft.org to support the program. Select donate. And what do we have to offer you? Actually, there are a whole lot of stuff. When you go to that stuff on the internet, you can see it. But what I'm asking you to do is support Politics Done Right by going to kpft.org. Hit the donate button and remember to select that you're doing this in the name of Politics Done Right so that it would be appropriately attributed to this program. $40, you get what again? You have voter rights here at KPFT, which means you can vote for the local board, etc. And you're a member of the Pacifica Network, which is a huge network. 5 flagship stations with hundreds of affiliates. $100 contribution gets you a Politics Done Right t-shirts with the logo, with the KPFT logo on it. Remember, you don't have to pay this all at once. You can do this on a monthly basis. $5 a month, $10 a month, $7 a month. Look, I'm not going to play my last video. If you want to, I told you what the entire show is going to be about. You can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It includes all the video and all that stuff to the that we play here. It includes narrative blogs, etc. That we cover here on air as well. I send it out I usually say every night before the show. It's more like every morning before the show because I didn't get this one out till I think 1 this morning. So go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to see what the show's about. But let me talk about why I am asking you so kindly to support the station. Look, as you know, we are an eclectic station. We play music that mainstream media won't play. We bring in bands, local bands, national bands that the mainstream media won't bring in. Give people the choice, the options that they want. We have environmental programs. We have eclectic programs. We have programs on community issues. We have Politics Done Right, which is it's a political program that covers the entire spectrum. We are a unique station that should be around, that must be around. Because as we lose our democracy, as we have the corporate state that controls more and more of our politicians, that control more and more of our policies, we need stations like this that have programs that can not slow that change down, but make sure that people are aware of these things that are happening so that people can use the power that they have to make changes. And that's all. That's the goal specifically of Politics Done Right. To let folks know that they already have that power to make the change. But to do that, we have to be around. To do that, we have to be funded. Yours truly, I do this on a volunteer basis, 5 days a week, 1 hour a day on air. But that 1 hour of on air on day takes hours of preparations on video clips, on blogs, etc. So in as much as there's 1 hour on air, there's a lot of preparation because we want to make sure to come to you with valid information, with truthful information, with actionable information, and not just complaining, but telling you what you can do about it. Like the vote, the calls, that is the goal, to ensure that you are all. I can't empower you. Howard can't empower you. Jack can't empower you. KPFT can't empower you. But one thing we can do is we can say and point out to you, you are already empowered to make change. So when folks want you to, the way the many on the Republican side, many on the neoliberal Democratic side operates, the way many of these folks operate is to get what they want done for whomever is supporting them, meaning corporations. That's what they want done. And their expectation is that you are going to think this is so difficult to attain, so difficult for you to do, that you're going to just throw your hands up in the air and take it. Earlier today, when Tag called, I made mention to what occurred in 2020, in the 2020 election, and the voting patterns, etc. That proves that those of us that are working on the ground, those of us that are doing the grassroots work, are actually getting stuff done. That's why even as Trump increase his margin. Trump is the president that was the president that achieved more votes than any other president in American history. That was Donald Trump in 2022. There's only one president that got more votes than Donald Trump in 2020. And that was Biden. And how did Biden do that? Biden did that because the grassroots works. People realized they were empowered. And I want to thank so kindly to Ermina in Baytown, Texas, for supporting Politics Done Right with that very kind contribution. No T-shirts on your way, my dear, beautiful lady. Thank you so kindly for your contribution. Folks, 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to support. Or you can go to kpft.org. Please be sure to tell folks this is for Politics Done Right. But going back to my soapbox that I hope is reaching you as I am attempting to. We can't do this. We can't take, people, we have a lot of the MAGA folks saying, take back the country. Take back the country from whom? No. We have to assert that we, the people, are really in charge of this country. And I don't mean just progressives. I don't mean just MAGA. I mean all of us. And we do have that power. When I came to the United States of America, it's the one thing I always did was vote. And I think from the decades and decades that I've been here, I've missed voting very few times, if any. The only reason I'm saying very few times is I know there's probably some county vote or something that I didn't know, or it passed me by or something like that. So I ask you so kindly once again, give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to provide support. go to kpft.org, hit that donate button, and let folks know that you are a part of our team. You are a part of what we do. You are a part of making a difference. kpft.org, hit the donate button on the options. Let it be known that it's in support of politics done right. That's how we do it, folks. That's how we make the change. And your investment in politics done right for KPFT ensures that we can continue. We ensure, first of all, that we can keep this hour, that we can keep this platform to go out there and let folks know they are, in fact, empowered. They are, in fact, differential. They can make a difference. You can make a difference. You give whatever you can. Now you make a difference. You are responsible for what you're hearing on the airwaves. You know, when Howard spoke earlier about why people don't vote, I could say, why is it that you don't have a problem, let's say, paying to be misinformed by a cable company, but we're asking for a few pennies to be informed from a station like ours? Howard talks about responsibility. That was he was angry, not angry, he was concerned, he was frustrated this morning as he and Jack are speaking. Go ahead, sir.
I was wrapped up.
Yes.
I got a little wrapped up there, but that is one of my concerns that, you've got to vote. People, come on. It's your right. People died so you could vote. Use that power. Use that power. It counts.
And he's absolutely right. So, this morning, Jack and Howard changed the subject. So if you want to accuse anybody of depriving you from one of the clips, it's Howard. Okay, don't talk to me. Talk to Howard.
Okay,
Howard's
fine.
No.
You got 30 seconds, dude.
All right. You see, he's already throwing me off the air. I got 30 seconds, dude. Anyway, folks, look, I want to thank you all for listening to the program. I want to thank Howard for all the work that Howard does keep us on air. I want to thank Jack for answering the phones. And I want to thank you for your ears and your eyeballs on watching this. My name is Egberto Willis. Call 713-526-5738, extension 1. You can still give in the name of this show. Go to kpft.org. You can still give in the name of this show, Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. Y tú sabes cómo termino este programa. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.